Okay, so when I'm solving this first problem, what I'd want to do is I'd want to subtract 3 from both sides. And even though this is a plus sign, I'm going to subtract because this is a positive 3. And the x is getting subtracted, not the 3. So we're going to minus the 3. It's going to cancel out from this side. I'm going to get 7. It's less than negative x. Then since I have a negative x, I want to get rid of the negative. So to get rid of the negative, you can either divide or multiply by a negative 1, which a negative divided by a negative is positive, and positive 7 divided by negative 1 is negative 7. And whenever we divide an inequality by a negative number, it's going to flip the sign. So this would be my answer. Let's try the next problem. Okay, so in this problem I just want to solve for x again. So I'm going to subtract 7 from both sides. Get negative 2x is greater than or equal to 6. Then I'm going to divide both sides by negative 2. I'm going to get x is less than or equal to negative 3, because again, when you divide by negative, it's going to flip this sign. Let's try the next problem. So again, just like all the other problems, we first want to get rid of this added thing. So we're going to subtract 10 from both sides. Now you're going to notice on this that even if the negative was out in front, I'm going to move it to the top. So you always on the fraction want to move the negative to the top because it will make it work out a little bit easier. At this stage, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to times both sides by 3, because most people see this as a fraction, but really the top number multiplies and the bottom number divides. So we're going to times both sides by 3. That's going to cancel this out. Going to get negative 2x is less than 30. And then from there what I'm going to do is I'm going to divide by negative 2. I'm going to get x is less than, since I divided by a negative, I have to flip my sign. So I'm going to get x is greater than negative 15. And that will be my final answer. Let's try the next problem. Okay, so let's say I have to write this inequality. If I had to write this inequality, given this graph, I know this is an AND statement because it has no arrows. So I'm going to put AND in the middle here. And then what we want to do is we kind of want to read what's happening. So I want to pick numbers that are bigger than 3, because 4, 5, 6, and 7 are all bigger than 3. So I want to pick numbers that are bigger than 3, and this is how I can show it's bigger, and equal to, since that's a filled in dot. For this one, what I would like to do, put what number I'm on right in the corner, is I want to pick numbers that are smaller than 7, because I don't get 8, so I want some numbers that are smaller than 7. So I show that is 7 would be my biggest number, and I wouldn't put a line under it because it's not a filled in circle. Let's try the next problem. In this problem, what I'd like to do is I know this is going to be an OR statement because I have two different arrows. So in the OR statement, we're just going to write what happens on this side, and we're going to write what happens on this side. On this side, I want things that are less than 0. So I want 0 to be the biggest number, and it's not going to be equal to, again, because it's an open dot. On this side, I want things that are bigger than 3, and I'm going to make that equal to, because I have a filled in dot. Let's try the next one. Okay, so let's solve and graph this one. The first thing I'd want to do in this type of problem is I would want to distribute this negative 2. And again, I said negative 2 even though we have this sign in front because it's always included with the 2. So we're going to get 4. Negative 2 times x will give me negative 2x. And negative 2 times 8 will give me negative 16. Now from here, what I'd like to do is I would like to add 16 to both sides, because it's a minus 16, so that's going to give me 20, and then negative 2x. And then anytime we divide by negative, again, it's going to flip the sign. So when it flips the sign, what I'm going to get is negative 10 is greater than x. And then if we were to graph this answer, what you'd have is you'd have your negative 10. And you want that to be the biggest number. So we're going to pick all the numbers that would be less or to the left of 10. And again, it's going to be an open circle because I have no line underneath. Try the next one. Okay, so for this problem, what I would want to do is we'd first want to distribute that negative 2. And again, even though it says minus here, I'd want to distribute the negative with it. So what's going to happen is you're going to get negative 2x plus 6 is greater than or equal to 10. And notice, as soon as I distribute, I get rid of my parentheses. So now I have this. From this stage, what I'd want to do is, because these things are right next to each other, I don't have to minus or plus or do anything like that. We can just add them straight together, which will give me 2x plus 6 is greater than or equal to 10. Minus 6, I get 2x is greater than or equal to 4. Divide by 2, divide by 2. It's going to give me x is greater than or equal to 2. And you'll notice this time I didn't flip the sign because we didn't divide by a negative. Now what we'd want to do is we'd want to graph this. I pick 2, and I want to pick numbers that are bigger than 2. And I want my dot to be filled in because I have a line underneath. So that would be my graph. Let's try the next one. Okay, so this one should be very easy to solve because there's really not anything to it. There's just a fraction. And again, the top of the fraction means to multiply. The bottom of the fraction means to divide. So I'm going to undo those operations. First, going to times by 3. I'm going to get 2x is less than 24. And then I'm going to divide by 2. And then I'm going to get x is less than 12. And that would be my answer. Let's try the next one. I went a little too quick on that last one because I should have graphed this. So we had our answer as x is less than 12. So you'd want to graph 12, and then you'd want to go less than this towards like your 11 side. And you'd want this to be an open dot because this doesn't have an equal to. Let's try the next one. So this is a long problem, but it's actually not too bad to solve. Again, whenever we want to have parentheses, we'd like to distribute. So I'm going to distribute this to both numbers. And if you remember again what fractions do, the top multiplies and the bottom divides. So what we would do is we do 2 times 3, which would be 6, divided by 3, which would be 2. Then we'd do 2 times 9, which is 18, divided by 3, which is 6. Now what I'd want to do is, since these things are just right next to each other, and I know what 6 minus 5 is, we can just do that. So 6 minus 5 is 1. And now we'd like to get the x's on the same side. So I'm going to minus 2x for convenience and get x minus 1. Then I'm going to add 1 to both sides and get 2. So that says 2 is bigger than x. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put 2 in the middle here. And we're going to go bigger. And again, this dot is filled in because I have a line underneath. And it's included. Let's try the next one. Okay, so for this problem again, what we'd want to do is we'd want to distribute. That's going to give me 2x minus 8 plus 6x is less than 20. Then we're going to want to add 8 to both sides. And that's going to give us 2x plus 6x is less than 28. We're then going to add these two things together and get 8x is less than 28. And this isn't a nice number when we divide, but that's okay. We're going to just use our calculator to see what that's about. It's 3.5. So we're going to have x, whoops, if my pen comes back, x is less than 3.5. And notice I didn't flip the sign again because we didn't divide by a negative. And now this is going to go less because 3.5 is bigger. Let's try the next one. Okay, so in this problem, the first thing I'd like to do is I'd like to get rid of this 3 on the bottom. And a lot of people struggle because they try to do like way too much on this. Like they're trying to move 10s and 12s and all this stuff. We really just want to get x by itself. So I'm going to look what's happening to x. It's being divided by 3, minus by 3, and times by 2. And because that 3 is affecting everything, we're going to undo that first. So I'm going to times everything by 3. That's going to give me 30. 2x minus 3 because the 3 is canceled, and then 36. Now from here what we'd want to do is we'd want to divide both sides by 3, which that's going to give me 33, 2x, and 39. And from here, after we've added 3 to all the sides, we're going to want to divide by 2. And these won't be perfectly nice numbers, but that's okay. Let's just see what we get when we do that. So we'll get 33 divided by 2, which is 16.5, and 39 divided by 2, which is 19.5. So what we're going to have is 16.5, and then 19.5. And if you remember, when you don't have, when you have two different things you're solving and you don't have any and or, what it always is it's always an and statement. So we won't have any arrows and it'll bounce between these two numbers. So what you'll see is this one will have a closed dot because it's got a line underneath. That'll have an open dot and no arrows in between. Okay, let's try the next one. Okay, so when I'm solving this, what I'd like to do is I'm going to subtract 3 from both sides here. Get 2x is greater than or equal to 2. I'm going to divide by 2, and I'm going to get x is greater than or equal to 1. So that will be my one side. Now I'm going to solve my other side of the OR. So I'm going to add 2 to both sides. I'm going to get 2x is less than negative 6. I'm going to divide by 2, and I'm going to get x is less than negative 3. And you're going to notice I didn't flip the sign because I didn't divide by a negative. And this is an OR. So ORs basically work like this. You draw your number line, and then you just draw what's happening to the two things. So I have 1 and I have negative 3. On this side, if I can get a different color, I'm going to scribble this in, and since x is bigger, it's going to go this way. This side, because x is less than, it's going to go smaller. And this would be my final answer. Try my next problem. Okay, so for number 13, where we have to model this situation, it says, write an inequality models situation. You can get a discount at a restaurant if you're younger than 10 or older than 70. So we know this is an OR statement, so when I write this, I want to OR between. And I want to show something is younger than 10. So I want to show that 10 is the biggest number. And I also want to show something is older than 70. So I want to show that 70 is the smallest number that I could get. There's something that will tell you that you might want to put an equal sign, but you really don't in this case because they would say 10 or younger, or they'd say something like you can be 10. In this statement, 10's not really included, so we don't want to put a line underneath. Let's try the next two problems. So we have this story. Daniel had $10 to spend at a fast food restaurant. He bought a drink for $3, and he could buy a hamburger for $2. How many hamburgers could he buy? So the situation would kind of look like this. If he has $10 to spend, he can't spend any more than $10. So 10 is the most. So we're going to make a sign that way. And we know he already bought a drink. So that was 3. And he wants to buy hamburgers, and he wants to buy more than one. So how I show that he can buy more than one is we put an x by it. Now what we would do is we'd subtract 3 from both sides. We'd have this. We'd get 7. We'd then divide by 2, and we'd get x is less than or equal to 3.5, which really means he could buy 3 or less, because he doesn't have enough money to buy that 4th hamburger. try the last problem. So in this last problem it says, suppose you're trying to decide which company you should buy t-shirts from. So for company A, and I put the wrong kind of buy, so let me fix that or that's going to bother me. So for company A, they charge you $10 for shipping plus $3 per t-shirt, and company B charges you $2 for shipping plus $5 for t-shirt. So I always like writing company A and B and writing them on both sides. Now company A is going to charge me $10, and that's a one-time fee, and $3, which is a multiply-time fee. So I'll put an X by it. And this would be $5 and it's, $2 and it's a one-time fee. And then $5, which is a multiple time fee. And we want to know when we want to buy from each. Well, we want to buy from A whenever B is more expensive. So let's solve this and see when B would be more expensive. Well, the first thing I'd want to do is minus 3x from both sides. Then I'd minus 2 from both sides. Then I would divide both sides by 2. And after 4 t-shirts, you'd want to buy from company A. Hopefully this helps on all the problems. If you get stuck with anything, please let me know.